Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're, setting sail for ancient Greece
Oh,
to explore Homer's epic poem,
okay.
the Odyssey, through the lens of Emily Wilson's recent translation.
Sounds good.
Um, Her fresh perspective, I think, reveals hidden depths in this, seemingly familiar tale.
All right.
So get ready to uncover, I think, some surprising insights about the complex characters and timeless themes
Yeah.
and just what makes this story resonate even today.
Well, what's so captivating about the Odyssey is that it's not just a thrilling adventure. It's a reflection of the human experience.
Yeah.
Odysseus's journey home after the Trojan War spans a decade, filled with, mythical creatures and perilous trials.
Right.
But these fantastical elements are really exploring, I think, universal truths about, our desires and our struggles and our search for meaning.
10 years is a long time to be away from home.
It is.
I can't even imagine facing like a fraction of what Odysseus goes through.
Right.
Storms, monsters, tempting goddesses.
Just a lot.
It's like the ultimate test of resilience and cunning.
Right, and each challenge reveals something, I think, about Odysseus' character and the ancient Greek world.
Okay.
Take the Cyclops, Polyphemus, for instance.
Okay.
When Odysseus blinds him to escape, he uses his cunning, what the Greeks called makitis.
Right.
But it comes with a heavy price, Poseidon's wrath.
That story always stuck with me. I
Yeah.
remember thinking, wow, Odysseus is clever.
Mm.
But now I see it as like a powerful example of how the Greeks valued wit and strategic thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder, would we celebrate that kind of cunning today?
It definitely challenges our modern ideas of heroism.
Yeah.
Metis was essential for survival in Odysseus' world.
Right.
But even his clever escape from Polyphemus triggers a chain of events that extends his journey by years.
Oh, wow.
It's a reminder that every action has consequences, intended or not.
And that concept of consequences ties into another key theme, xenia,
Yes.
the sacred bond between guest and host.
Right.
It pops up throughout Odysseus' adventures.
It does.
Sometimes with, terrifying results.
Yes. The monstrous Laestrygonians,
Right.
who devour Odysseus's men,
Oh, yeah.
offer a chilling example of perverted xenia.
Right.
They completely violate the rules of hospitality.
Yeah.
And then you have Calypso, who offers Odysseus immortality
Right.
if he remains with her.
You'd think immortality would be an easy choice, right?
You would think.
But Odysseus ultimately rejects her offer.
Exactly. And that decision reveals so much about Odysseus' character.
Okay.
He chooses a mortal life with all its limitations because he yearns for home, for his family, for his place in the world.
It's almost like he's saying, immortality is great, but it's meaningless without the people and the place I love.
Yeah.
I'm curious, though, about the women in the Odyssey.
Okay.
We often hear about Penelope's faithfulness, but what about the other female characters?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
The women of the Odyssey are far more complex than traditional interpretations might suggest. Penelope is indeed devoted, but she's also incredibly intelligent.
Yeah.
Her strategic weaving of the burial shroud
Right.
is a masterpiece of manipulation, buying her time and asserting her agency in a seemingly powerless situation.
It's like she's playing 4D chess while everyone else thinks it's checkers.
Precisely. And then you have figures like Calypso and Circe.
Right.
These are powerful goddesses
Yeah.
who challenge traditional gender roles.
Okay.
They wield magic, offer wisdom, and hold their own in a patriarchal society.
Okay, but Calypso does keep Odysseus captive for 7 years.
Right.
Is that really challenging gender roles?
Yeah.
Or is it more about a power dynamic, goddess versus mortal?
That's a fantastic question and gets to the heart of how the Odyssey makes us rethink these concepts.
Okay.
Calypso is powerful, yes, but she is also bound by certain divine rules and expectations. Remember, she eventually releases Odysseus at Hermes' command, highlighting the limits of her power.
So it's not just about male versus female,
Oh,
but also God versus mortal.
Right.
And even God versus God.
Yeah.
There are all these layers of power at play.
exactly.
Speaking of layers, let's talk about Telemachus.
Okay.
Odysseus' son, growing up in his father's shadow,
Mm-hmm.
is a fascinating character in his own right.
Absolutely. Telemachus embarks on his own journey of sorts, a coming-of-age story that unfolds parallel to Odysseus's adventures.
Right.
He's trying to figure out what it means to be a man, especially when your dad is a legendary hero.
No pressure there. Right. I can only imagine the weight of expectations.
Right.
But Telemachus doesn't just sit around waiting for his father to return.
No, he doesn't.
He seeks out wise figures like Nestor and Menelaus,
Mm-hmm.
gathering information and advice.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that he also learns valuable lessons from Eumaeus,
Right.
the loyal swineherd.
Yeah.
It shows that true manhood isn't just about strength or lineage,
Right.
but also about compassion and loyalty.
And all this while dealing with the suitors who are trying to take over his home and vying for his mother's hand. Talk about a crash course in responsibility and leadership. Yeah. It makes me wonder, what impact does growing up without his father have on Telemachus?
It forces him to mature quickly.
Yeah.
He faces challenges that most young men wouldn't even dream of.
Right.
And you can see how his encounters with these different figures, from kings to swineherds, shape his understanding of what it means to be a man.
It's definitely not your typical coming-of-age story.
No.
But one thing that always intrigues me about the Odyssey is the role of the gods.
Okay.
They're not just passive observers.
Right.
They're constantly interfering, causing chaos, and influencing events.
It's almost as if the gods are using mortals as pawns in their own divine games.
Yeah.
They have their favorites, their grudges, their rivalries.
Right.
Take Athena, for example.
Mhm.
She's constantly guiding and protecting Odysseus.
She's like his personal cheerleader and guardian angel all rolled into one. But then you have Poseidon, who's furious with Odysseus for blinding his son Polyphemus.
Right.
He throws all sorts of obstacles in Odysseus' way.
That tension between Athena and Poseidon adds another layer of complexity to the story.
Right.
It raises questions about fate and free will.
Yeah.
How much control does Odysseus really have over his destiny when these powerful gods are pulling the strings?
It's a question that resonates even today.
It does.
Do we chart our own course, or are we at the mercy of forces beyond our control? But one thing's for sure, Odysseus isn't afraid to make bold choices,
Right.
even when faced with divine opposition.
And that's what makes him such an enduring character.
Yeah.
Despite the challenges, the temptations, the setbacks, he never gives up on his goal of returning home.
It's that unwavering determination that makes Odysseus so relatable, even though his adventures are anything but ordinary. But what about that moment when he's offered immortality? That's not an everyday dilemma.
You're right, that's a pivotal moment. Odysseus's refusal of Calypso's offer highlights, I think, a fundamental aspect of the human condition.
Yeah.
Our acceptance of mortality. He chooses a finite life filled with love, loss, and hardship over an eternal existence devoid of true connection.
It's almost like saying, I'd rather live fully, even if it hurts, than exist forever without truly feeling anything. But let's talk about the ending of the Odyssey. It's not exactly happily ever after, is it?
That's the beauty of Homer's work. The ending is open to interpretation. Odysseus returns home.
Right.
But his journey isn't over. He faces new challenges, including a final confrontation with the suitors who have been plaguing his household.
And that final showdown is pretty brutal. It's not just a triumphant return,
Right.
It's a bloody battle that leaves a trail of bodies and a sense of unease.
Exactly. The poem doesn't shy away from the complex realities of violence and revenge.
Right.
Odysseus's actions raise questions about justice, retribution, and the cyclical nature of conflict. It's a reminder that even heroes can be driven by darker impulses.
It's so different from the typical good conquers evil narrative. And even after the battle, there's a lingering tension.
Yeah.
Will Odysseus ever truly find peace? Will his relationship with Penelope be the same after all these years?
That ambiguity is what keeps us thinking about the Odyssey long after we finish reading it. It's not a neat, tidy story with all the loose ends tied up.
Right.
It leaves us pondering the complexities of human nature, the consequences of our actions, and the enduring power of the past.
And Emily Wilson's translation really brings out those nuances, doesn't it? Her language is so clear and accessible, stripping away that archaic feel that can sometimes make these ancient texts feel intimidating.
Absolutely. Her translation allows modern readers to connect with the characters and themes on a more visceral level. And what's fascinating is that she also sheds light on the oral tradition behind the Odyssey.
Oh, right. It wasn't originally written down, was it?
Exactly. It was passed down orally for generations, with each storyteller adding their own flourishes and interpretations. You can almost hear the echoes of those ancient voices in Homer's verse.
It's like a tapestry woven from countless threads of history and storytelling. And speaking of threads, it's amazing how the Odyssey has influenced so much of Western literature, art, and even popular culture.
It's a testament to its enduring power. We see elements of the Odyssey in everything from James Joyce's Ulysses to the Coen brothers' film, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, yeah.
These adaptations demonstrate how the themes of journey, homecoming, and the search for meaning continue to resonate with us no matter the time period.
It's like this ancient tale is woven into the fabric of our collective consciousness. But what is it about journeys, especially the struggle to return home, that captivates us so deeply?
It's a question that has fascinated scholars and artists for centuries. Perhaps it's because we all experience a sense of longing,
Right.
a yearning for connection for a place where we truly belong. The Odyssey reminds us that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
It's about facing our fears, overcoming obstacles, and ultimately discovering who we are along the way.
And it's important to remember that Odysseus isn't a flawless hero. He's driven by pride, makes mistakes, and often succumbs to temptation. He's a complex character who reflects the full spectrum of human emotions and experiences.
He's relatable, even though he's battling mythical creatures and facing down angry gods. But that's what makes him so compelling. We see ourselves in his struggles, his triumphs, and his flaws. So what does the Odyssey ultimately teach us about ourselves and the human condition?
I think it encourages us to embrace the challenges and uncertainties of life, to cultivate our own maternities, that cunning resourcefulness, and to never lose sight of what truly matters to us, even when the journey seems endless.
It's a reminder that even when we're facing our own metaphorical cyclops or sirens, we have the strength and resilience to find our way home. But what about you? What resonates with you most about the Odyssey?
What always strikes me is Odysseus' choice to return to Ithaca. He could have chosen immortality with Calypso,
Right.
but he longed for a mortal life, a life filled with love, family, and a sense of belonging. It's a powerful testament to the human spirit's enduring need for connection.
It makes you wonder, what would you choose? Eternal youth or a life filled with love and connection, even with all its inherent challenges? What sacrifices would you be willing to make for the people and places you hold dear?
These are profound questions that the Odyssey continues to pose to each generation.
Yeah.
And while the answers may vary, the very act of grappling with them is what makes this epic so timeless and relevant.
It's amazing how a story written thousands of years ago can still, spark such introspection.
It is.
But I think that's the power of the Odyssey. It's
Yeah.
not just about Odysseus' journey, it's about our own journeys as well.
Exactly. It invites us to consider what home truly means to us. Is it a physical place, a sense of belonging, or something deeper, more intangible?
And what about those temptations we all face?
Right.
Odysseus encounters sirens, goddesses, even offers of immortality.
It's a lot.
It makes me think about the choices we make in our own lives and the allure of taking an easier path, even if it means straying from our true course.
That's such an insightful connection. The Odyssey reminds us that those alluring shortcuts can be dangerous distractions. True growth often comes from facing those challenges head-on, even if it means taking the longer, more arduous route.
It's like that saying, the journey is the destination.
Hmm.
But let's be honest, sometimes Odysseus makes some questionable choices.
He does.
He's not always the noble hero. He can be vengeful, reckless, even a bit arrogant.
That's what makes him such a compelling character.
Yeah.
He's not a two-dimensional archetype of a hero.
Right.
He's flawed and complex, just like us. He makes mistakes, learns from them, and ultimately grows as a result of his experiences.
It's that growth, that evolution that makes his story so resonant.
Yeah.
We don't just admire Odysseus, we identify with him. We see ourselves in his struggles, his triumphs, his moments of weakness, and his ultimate resilience.
And Emily Wilson's translation really highlights that human dimension of Odysseus. Her language is so vivid and engaging, it's almost as if we're experiencing his journey alongside him, feeling his pain, his joy, his confusion, his longing for home.
It's like she stripped away centuries of dust and allowed us to see. The Odyssey with fresh eyes. We're not just reading an ancient text. We're engaging with a timeless story that speaks to the very core of what it means to be human.
And that's why the Odyssey continues to be relevant today. It's a story about journeys both literal and metaphorical. It's about facing our fears, overcoming obstacles, and finding our way back to ourselves, even when the path is fraught with peril and temptation.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to, keep exploring the Odyssey. Read Emily Wilson's translation. Ponder the characters' choices and see how this ancient tale resonates with your own experiences.
What challenges have you faced on your own journeys? What temptations have you resisted? And what does home truly mean to you? Keep asking those questions, keep diving deeper, and keep exploring the vast and complex world of the Odyssey.
And on that note, that is the end of today's deep dive.